Hello guys, welcome back in Basics of Software Testing series, and in today's lesson we'll be covering SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. Remember in last video we covered SDLC, Software Testing Lifecycle. So Software Testing Lifecycle is a phase inside Software Development Lifecycle. So without further ado, let's dive in. So before we start learning SDLC, let's cover 3 W's. Why, what and who. Why we are studying software development lifecycle. What we'll be covering later on, and who. We know that software tester and software engineers, that means software developers, are involved in SDLC, right? So why we are studying software development lifecycle. So let's imagine you got a client and client asked you and your team to develop a software, right? So now your question will be that what is the process of developing a software? What all stages I need to cover, like, right? Or how to proceed with my software development, right? What are the stages which a software has to go to get delivered in a best manner, right? So these stages are being covered in software development lifecycle. Software development lifecycle helps you to create a software in a process, in a good manner, right? So there are two different types of method which we'll be covering in software development lifecycle. One is waterfall model and another one is agile methodology, right? So let's start with waterfall model first. So this is waterfall model, which is also known as sequential model. And as you can see that there is a sequence. Each stage is assigned in a sequential manner, right? So, and also it looks like a water falling down the steps. So that's why it is known as waterfall model. And in waterfall model, our very first stage is requirement analysis. And in requirement analysis stage, what we do is we gather information. We gather requirement from the client, what he wants in his application, right? You will be asking question from your client, right? What are your requirements? This will be covered in requirement analysis phase. Then we have designing phase. So basically designing phase is nothing but just a blueprint in a document format, right? So if you will be starting your development of the application, there must be something written, right, that you have to follow. You can't just keep everything in your head and start just coding, right? There has to be something documented which people in your team needs to follow, right? So here documentation and writing the information in documents, right, in files, it is done in this stage, the designing stage, right? Then come the development phase, where the software developer will start coding, will start writing the functionalities, right? Will start putting their logic, will start putting their brain to develop a application, right? So this was till third stage, that was development. Then come the testing stage, which we studied SDLC. That SDLC will start in this phase, right? When the testing of the software will be started, at that stage, we will be doing testing. We will be following SDLC, right? So here, testing of that code which developer has already written will be done, right? Then comes the second last stage, that is deployment. Now your application has developed, your application is tested. Now you will give that application onto a client's environment, right? You will be putting that software on a environment, right? Then comes the last stage, that is maintenance. Once you have deployed, you will be checking whether it's working fine or not. If there is any issue or if there is any bug, then you will be fixing that bug, right? So these were the different stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stages in waterfall model, right? So you can see that in waterfall model, everything happens step by step, right? Complete development was done, then complete testing, then complete deployment, then doing the bug fixing, everything. That is step by step. You started creating the software and you ended with going live with your software, right? So now let's cover agile methodology, right? Agile methodology is a combination of iterative and incremental model. So iterative and incremental model were introduced before agile methodology, right? Before agile model, right? But after waterfall model, right? So what we do is we collaborated the iterative model and incremental model together and created an agile model. Okay, so let's cover agile model. An agile model is very famous and followed model nowadays in IT companies. Even though in my company I have worked on agile model, and agile model is also a very frequently asked question in your interviews. It is very, very important. So you need to learn this by heart. What is agile model, right? So in agile model, again, the process is same, but we'll see what is the difference between waterfall model and the agile model, right? Requirement analysis, you will be gathering the information, you'll be asking questions from your client, what do you need? Then you'll be doing the documentation, the design part over here. Then the developer will be writing the code, right? Then you will be doing testing, then you will be deploying and then review. But now question is how it is different. I've just said the same thing I said in waterfall model. So now over here, what is happening is we are not developing the system completely. We will start developing a small part of system here, right? We'll be doing analysis of small part. Like if we are developing banking application, then maybe we'll be covering first the login, the onboarding of user first, right? Then we'll be doing just designing of that small part of our application. Then we'll be doing the development of the small part, then testing, then deployment, then review, right? And now in this review, we'll be able to catch the bug or issue in smaller part of the application itself, right? Now the development of complete application is not done. Only a small part has been developed, right? And you are checking that small part. So this will help you to create a better application, right? You will be finding bugs in initial phase, in every phase, right? So that's how agile model works. You are working in small bits and pieces, in small phases. So and you are working in a cycle, and this cycles keep on going, and you will keep on updating. You will be keep bettering your application in each phase, right? So this was agile model. So I hope these two models are clear to you now. Let's cover what are the very important difference between these two, right? So now waterfall model versus agile method, right? So let's recall what we studied, right? In waterfall model is a one step at a time. We started developing the application and then we stopped once it completely got finished, right? It is a one step at a time. Whereas agile is incremental and iterative method. You keep on adding, right? You keep on adding, you keep on changing, right? You keep on increment, you keep on iterate things, right? So this is incremental and iterative method. Then goes in waterfall model, divides process into phases, right? You have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth phases, right? Whereas in agile method, you follow sprint. That one cycle, you have sprint. Or maybe not the complete cycle. Many sprint can create one cycle. Maybe if we have created one functionality of the system, then that could be covered in 2 sprint or maybe 3 sprint, right? So this process is covered in sprints, right? Then we have testing is done once system is developed completely. As we discussed, right? We did testing at the last when the development was completed in waterfall model. Whereas in agile method, testing is done parallelly with development, right? You are developing something, you are testing. You are developing something, then you are testing. So this is agile model. Waterfall model is good for small projects, right? So it's very logical, right? If you're creating a small project, you can easily use waterfall model because there is not much to develop. There is not much to test, right? For small projects, waterfall model is very good. But agile is good for small as well as large projects, right? So in big companies, we have large projects. So we follow agile methods, right? So then the changes or add-ons are impossible, right? Because you have done the development and you have done the testing and then you are making changes, right? You have built a complete building. Now you are telling me that please make some changes on the first floor, right? So it is difficult to make changes. Whereas in agile model, while the building is getting constructed, you are making changes and that is easy, right? So changes and add-ons can be done easily in agile model. So I hope these difference between waterfall model and agile model is clear. So in my opinion, I feel agile model is really good for larger projects, right? And over here you are working with developers parallelly, right? So Agile model is better than Waterfall model as per me. So this was difference between Waterfall model and Agile method, right? And this question could be asked, what do you think, like which one is better, Waterfall model and Agile method? So as per me, Agile method is better. So you can give answer that Agile method is better, right? Okay, so that's it for today. Let's meet in next video. Bye bye.